Hello and welcome to Coffee with Dr. Carla. I'm Dr. Carla and this is Marty, and we're glad that you're here with us. Our goal is to talk about mental health related issues and to end the stigma surrounding them. So, speaking of stigmas, I think getting a diagnosis a mental health diagnosis is difficult enough for most people, but then to realize that you probably need to take some medication to help along with that, right? I think there's a lot of fighting that, and it's interesting because there's people who will be willing to like white knuckle it through when they don't have to. And I'm a firm believer. You sure try all you can, first, and then if you still need help, go for it. However, at least my experience when I was teaching, and even now as my own, with my own situation, those of us struggling with ADD and ADHD probably should not white knuckle it through. I'm just saying. But, so talk to me a little bit about your journey in regards to medication and some of the things that you were thinking, or maybe stigmas you encountered and whatnot.
Yeah, so the medication stigma for me was probably the toughest part of it all. When I had first started talking to my doctor and started seeing a psychiatrist, and they had suggested, hey, we should, let's try some things if you're willing to.
Right.
And I was, I was fighting it at first because there was the stigma around the medication for it being, something that people took recreationally or abused
it.
and so for me it was a lot of I felt like I was doing something wrong. I didn't think of it as a tool to help manage my brain and to help manage how I can process things. And so there was a lot of anxiety that kind of came with the fact that I was taking the medication. And it was still something for a few years that I had trouble getting through of even admitting to taking. And it wasn't, even still to this day, like I'm selective about who I've talked to about it. And not that I'm embarrassed of it, but it's just, you almost feel like I felt like I was doing something wrong, right?
Well, and the reality of it is not everyone deserves to hear your story.
Yeah, that's it. And even now, even when I have someone I trust, and at some point it'll come up, I'll say, well, the phrase I like to use a lot in the morning is, well, I'm caffeinated and medicated. I'm ready to go. Right? And that's for those who work closely with me knows that, like, okay, we're going to get the best version that I can give that day.
Right.
Because I've done all the things in my power that I can to, give what I can that day. And so like I said, for me, a lot of it was that getting through that portion of the stigma behind it. And even still, as mentioned, right, I'll tell someone, sometimes you'll see while they may not verbalize the fact that they're thinking about, oh, wow, but even just saying like, yeah, I take medication for ADHD, the dots come together and then you see like this, huh. Like, it's a very interesting reaction. What I'll find as well is you'll find someone else who then will feel that they can share their story then too. And that's where I started to find the comfort.
Right.
I was actually at a sales conference and I was in a booth and there was 4 of us from a team, and at some point somehow it ended up being that we were all taking our medication like at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And we started to share the stories of well, what and we found we all had different flavors of ADHD, ADD, and all in different regimens, different ways that we wanted to. We were managing, making our brains work the best we could, and so it was really through that experience of talking it out. That really kind of helped me. And then there was one other time where I thought I was in the complete rarity, right? Like I didn't think anyone else was taking this.
Of course.
And so I was actually having a conversation with someone who I managed about it, and she shared her story with me, and I felt like, wow. And there I was judging, saying that like, no one else takes this. I got to be the only one. it wasn't absolutely true.
Right.
And so it took me some while to get through that stigma of being able to talk about it. But once I did, I started to kind of really open up with it. And I want to share one more story just because I have it on deck. Is, I was talking to a family member about taking this, and I remember at some point they asked me, well, how long do you take it till you get better?
Oh.
And I thought, I didn't know what to say at the time, right?
Right.
Because I didn't know. I was still pretty fresh with it. And then after throughout time, and I've researched how do I answer that question? And if you had high blood pressure and you were taking high blood pressure medication, or you were taking something for that you needed to take the rest of your life for medication, you wouldn't ask that person that same question.
You would not.
And so I felt that it was a good challenge at the time, and now I'm well prepared to say this exact thing was, if you have diabetes, you're going to always take your medication for the diabetes, or if you have a heart condition, you're going to continue to take it. Same goes for this. It's just in the brain instead of someplace else in your body. Yep.
So I'm curious. So there's different types of medication that
Mm-hmm.
that they use for the and I'm curious. Did you get lucky on the first try?
I did not.
Yeah. Okay. Nobody does. But I thought maybe you'd be the rare bird that got lucky on the first try.
I did not.
Yeah. And how did that set with you? This idea that okay, I'm going to try something and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It wasn't right, and then you're like, you want to try another one, and maybe another, and another.
I was lucky throughout the process that my girlfriend was already diagnosed with ADHD at that point in time, was on the medication for a few years, so she'd been down the road, and so as I was going through it, I had someone to talk to, and that was extremely helpful. Mainly for the fact of the first medication, as I would take it, it would make me sick. I wouldn't feel right. I started to get the dizzy spells throughout the day, or when I was trying to go to sleep, it would just, I was worse off than I started.
Right. So you might as well just go unmedicated
That's it.
because it would have been so much easier.
That's it.
Right?
It made it extremely difficult. So I tried for a couple months on the first medication, and then we switched me over. We played around with the dosage a little bit, and it took me, like I said, probably about 4 years to finally settle into when's the right time to take it, what times of the day do I take it, how often do I, when, all of that stuff. And,
Right.
And there still is days even to, now where you take the medication and you're like, no, that it's not working. Well, no, it's just, there's external factors, there's things involved.
Right.
So it's not a cure-all magic pill. It's, there's a lot of factors that go into that and, really affect it.
Yeah, I got lucky first try, but I also had done enough, research around journals and stuff like that, to even consider what kind of medication might work best with my circumstances. And so then when I did meet with my psychiatrist, I said, what's your thoughts about this?
Mm-hmm.
So we had a nice conversation about that as well. So I got lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Very lucky.
That is.
Right. But, I know other people who take the same medication I do, and it just wreaks havoc on their body.
Mm-hmm.
So, even though I could say, I love my medication, not everyone's going to be well at it.
Yeah.
So,
but it's that one. It's not the cure all, right? It's a combination. I take vitamins in the morning, then I have take my medication, and then you fit it in the day where it kind of fits and plays out. There was a lot of sleepless nights along the way because it kept me awake, or times where I would get into a deep hyper focus because if you don't regulate the medication the right way, it's what it did for me was, and then I would sit there and crippled and my hands were hurting, my tension. And so there's a lot of the side effects that, that comes with it if you're not aware of it and managing it with, talking to somebody about it. So,
yeah. And I think the biggest thing that hopefully people take away from this is that there are a huge variety of medications that can help with ADD and ADHD. However, at the end of the day, you're going to probably have to do some trial and error on these. And you need to be brutally honest with whoever's providing the medication, because you don't have to put up with all these crazy side effects, right? There is another form out there. So Remember, you can change your thoughts, discover your potential, and transform your life by focusing on your overall well-being. Until next time, continue working on being the best you possible. Bye.